Alrighty, good morning. Today's September 4th, 8 o'clock in the morning, getting to work on the vertical stabilizer today because I'm kind of at a standstill on the horizontal. Alrighty, here's drawing number 6 for the vertical stabilizer. The first step is to cleco the spar doubler to the rear spar and then cleco hinge brackets on. So we'll pull in parts and we'll mark stuff and get started. Okay, so we have the vertical stabilizer spar and the doubler clecoed in, and then I clecoed all these hinge brackets on. The next step is to take this top hinge and drill all 6 holes. As you can see, this hole and this hole are not drilled through. So the plans tell you to drill those and actually just drill all of them to the appropriate size. It's a 426 4-7 rivet, so that'll be a number 30 bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill those. Got all of these holes drilled out to number 30, and we wait on these last 2 because it depends. For the tail dragger model, we use those 2 holes, but we do that later with the fuselage. So the next step is to prepare the ribs, doing the edge finishing, fluting, straightening the ribs and the bulkheads. So we'll grab these 3 ribs or 4 ribs and work on that. I've got the ribs in the front spar for the vertical stabilizer, and they are all edge finished, fluted and straightened as required. The next thing to do is cleco the ribs and the front and rear spar. Okay, all of the holes in the spar, the doubler, into the ribs, basically all holes on here besides the ones for the skins are drilled to number 30. So that completes that step. And I have drilled all the holes on the spar into the ribs to number 30. Now I'm gonna do it, or into the rear spar. Now I'm gonna do it on the rest of them, the front spar. Those are all number 30 holes. Alrighty, all the ribs are drilled out. Next step is to cleco the skin on, and then we're gonna final size drill the holes from the skin into the ribs and the spar, so basically all these holes. vertical stabilizer skin is clecoed on. Next step is gonna be drilling all of these holes in the ribs, the spars, basically final size drilling everything. Then we'll have to take it all off and deburr it after that. All the holes for the skins are now drilled to number 40. The next step is going to be disassemble all this and dimple the skin, dimple all the ribs, dimple the spars, and countersink anywhere in here that they say it's a flush rivet, or a countersunk rivet rather. So any of the AN 426s. And this is interesting because they're kind of starting to tell less and less about what to do. They just say mark the locations of certain parts, disassemble, deburr, dimple, machine countersink, and prime parts as required. So I think I'll get some priming done tomorrow, but for today I'm going to disassemble it and start to dimple, countersink, that type of thing once I'm done deburring all the holes. And you all have seen me put this together, so I'm not going to videotape taking it apart, and I probably also won't video any of the deburring, because basically I just got to go through every hole, hit it both sides. But I will record when I do the dimpling. All right, everything's deburred. Now on to dimpling. I'm doing all the parts on here that require dimpling, which is pretty much the side holes on the front and rear spar. And then there's a couple of other rivets here that are going to be countersunk that I'll have to do, and then either countersink or dimple into the spar. It depends on the thickness of the material if I can countersink or dimple it. So I'll find that out, but for now I got lots of dimpling to do for these skin attachment points.
All right, guys, it is September 4th. Just got done with work, and we are doing some dimpling and whatever this is on the RV. Countersinking on the RV. Ben's over here countersinking. The spar for the rudder. Vertical stabilizer. They fit pretty perfect. And then I just dimpled some ribs. And another spar for the vertical stabilizer. And that's that. This comes together pretty quickly. So that's what's happening on September 4th.
Alrighty, well, that wraps up today. The vertical stab is, believe it or not, pretty much done. We just need to prime the parts and rivet it. So we countersunk these holes in the spar reinforcement and dimpled those ones. So basically that's the vertical stabilizer spar looking at it from the rear. So that was a little confusing as to what side they wanted us to dimple and whatnot. But we figured that out. And yeah, all the ribs are dimpled, everything's deburred. Tomorrow will be a priming day for a lot of these parts, and I haven't decided if I'll start priming anything for the vertical stab or for the horizontal stab, but like and subscribe. We'll catch you tomorrow. Charlie's sitting on his ass per usual, Dad's working per usual, and I'm supervising per usual. So basically the entire vertical stabilizer is done. I want to get this thing primed and set my first rivets.
Alrighty, we have
primed all the parts and we're just waiting for them to dry. I did the first side, then I flipped them over. I primed the inside of the skin, of course, but once those dry, we will be all set for riveting the vertical stabilizer. Okay, so that completes the first part of the finish, or basically building the vertical stabilizer. That'll be the title of this video. And then the next video is going to be finishing the vertical stabilizer, which is all the riveting. So we'll let the parts dry, and tomorrow morning we're setting our first official rivets for the RV7. Like and subscribe. The next thing to do will be building the rudder.